Hello there guys, it's me, Unstable Voltage. Welcome back to episode 8 of learning Europa Universalis V. In the last video, we finally went to war. Only took us 7 episodes. Finally went to war against Granada with the intent of subjugating them. Now, it ended up being a bit of a bigger war than expected because Morocco came in. We knew that Tlemcen was going to come in because they were allied with Granada. I don't think Morocco were at the time. I'm not sure how that happened. Maybe they got that later on. But Morocco came in. We're also at war with Talifal and Tuat, is that pronounced? Which are both nations here in Africa. They're actually... I was wondering how they got in. And the easiest way to tell it that is why somebody's in a war. If we click on the actual war tab and look down here. So we've got Granada. Granada's the war leader. You only have one war leader on each side, and they're basically the person that you will negotiate with primarily. The war leader isn't necessarily the person you declare war on, because if you declare on someone who is a vassal, I believe it's their overlord that becomes the war leader, but I haven't tested that in this game. So we've got Granada. Tlemcen are in because they are allied to Granada. Morocco are in because they are allied to Granada. And then we've got Talifal, who are in because they are a vassal of Morocco. It says right up here at the top, it's a vassal of the Marinid Sultanate of Morocco. And then Tuat is actually a vassal of Talifal. So if we were to get Morocco out of this, we could get Talifal and Tuat out. Now, the way that works, and this was brought up in the comments by El Grigo, but it is something I was aware of because it's in Europa Universalis 4, and this is what I was trying to look at in the last video in the peace deal screen, and I missed the line because it was a bit information overload. So whenever you go into the peace treaty screen, primarily you are dealing with the war leader, right? We will negotiate for our entire alliance, and they negotiate for their entire alliance. So these are all the options that we can pick here, but we're negotiating with Granada. Now, we can ask Granada to make concessions for other nations. I can take a province from Morocco and get Granada to agree to it because they're the war leader, right? Now, if you make a peace treaty with the war leader and you agree to it, or they agree to it, that ends the war, right? Whatever war rewards or war goals are selected on here, if they get passed, if it gets accepted, ends the war for everybody. However, what you can do is you can click down on the individual participants in the war, like we've got Tlemcen here and we've got Morocco. And if we do that, it says we negotiate for our entire alliance, but they only negotiate for themselves. So we could negotiate directly with Morocco, for example, and say, I want to take this province and peace out. And if they accept, Morocco will then leave the war. The war will continue, but it will remove Morocco. And in this case, it would also remove Talifal and Tuat because they are vassals of Morocco. That's the only reason they're in. You cannot make a direct peace deal with vassals that are in the war. Only alliances. So we could get Tlemcen out. Now, you do need individual war score against those countries. Down here, I'm just occupying Granada, so I don't really have any war score against Tlemcen, so I can't really ask them for anything, and they won't even accept a white peace. I have a little bit of war score against Morocco. That's probably because I've defeated some of their troops in combat. But again, negative 61. They will not accept at this point. It's also worth remembering that if you do peace out an individual subject, so let's say I go down here and I carpet siege Morocco, I'll have a good deal of war score in this war. If I then peace Morocco out, because their occupied land, that they won't be in the war anymore, their occupied land won't count towards the total war score for the main war. So there are certainly some considerations. That being said, what we're going to do, we've completely carpet sieged Granada. That happened at the end of the last episode. The last time I checked, they had no navy. Let's double check this. Yeah, they've got no navy at all. They've only got 18,000 troops compared to our 50,000. So we're significantly stronger in terms of manpower. So what we're going to do, knowing that they can't get any troops over here, we're basically going to ship everybody over there. Hopefully we're not going to get caught out by a big army this time. So we're going to move up, and we do know that they do have an army over here. Let's also have a quick look at the terrain map mode. Yeah, so these, we're going to be crossing over water. I mean, we want to be in rough terrain if we can get there first, to be honest. Give them a penalty, but I'm going to try and get as many units over here as possible. I'm also going to start bringing some more units down this way because I want to make sure I've got as many people here as possible. Now, I do seem to have a couple of armies down there. Let's go and select them and just group them together. There's 3 armies there, actually. You're not going to let me select all of those armies. I don't know why it does this sometimes. Yeah, there's 3 different armies there. If I shift and click these... No. Come on, you know you want to. There we go. Oh, that was clunky. So let's get everybody down here. I don't want them all standing in the same province at once, but I do want to be able to get them down reasonably quickly. I'm just going to put it back onto the terrain map mode because it looks nicer, right? We're making a YouTube video here. So we're going to ship all of these people across. I'm not going to have them stand all in one province, but I am going to have them, hopefully, all stand close enough to one another that they can reinforce if they need to. Taking a bit of attrition here because everybody's on the water. So you guys are going to come over here as well. So the boats are still there. So they don't actually have to get on the boat because it's the same sea tile. I think it basically just works like a sort of a straight cross. I mean, this is a straight anyway, right? So we're going to go over there, and meanwhile we've got this other army marching its way over. I don't expect getting a bit of a lack of food issue here. I don't expect Galicia to bring their army over, but they're actually finishing this siege off down here. I'd forgotten that we hadn't sieged that out, but they're going to siege that out for us, so that's absolutely fine. So we'll allow that to continue. Yeah, we'll siege out these provinces. And we'll move these 2 armies together. Once we get this 3rd army over here, we'll move that with it as well. Now, there are a few extra options that you do have with your armies. I'm not going to bother doing this until I've wiped all of their armies out, because I don't want to take the risk. But you do have some automation options here. And one of them... I'll just try and find where it is now. One of the options is you can tell your... So detach a siege is a useful button. You only need a certain amount of units to siege any province, and anything over that number is kind of a waste. You're just standing there taking attrition. You know, if you only need 5,000 men to siege a fort, putting 18,000 on it isn't going to do anything. In fact, you could make 3 armies of 5,000 and go and siege 3 provinces at the same time. So you've got this detach siege button, which will basically detach an army that is big enough to maintain the siege, and then you can take the rest off and go and do something else. But there is a button somewhere. I need to find it now. Detach support, that's a new thing in EU5. That's basically allows an army to supply food to the front lines. So it's a little bit like supply lines in Hearts of Iron. But somewhere, and I haven't found it yet. Yeah, see, deposit food in supply depot and create supply depot. So you can basically create a supply depot and then bring food and put food in there. But there's a button somewhere, and I've lost it, where you can actually give an army orders to go and automatically carpet siege. And I can't see the button now. But you can basically just say to your army, you just go off and do your thing and just carpet siege for me. Can't see where that is, but okay. Let's unpause and let's start getting on with this sieging. We've got more units coming in. Now, we know that Morocco do still have a bit of an army. Yeah, we've definitely got these food issues. We don't want to go too far because we're going to end up with starvation. There's a successful occupation. I am going to stay there just shortly. I don't want to push too far forwards until this 3rd army gets into position. Not Tlemcen, Glacier still haven't managed to win this siege over here yet, but they're getting there. So as we've spoken about before, any province that doesn't have a fort has a 100% chance to fall in a siege. Ah, here we go. See, they are now attacking. They are committed. Right. Select army, move into the slot. And we're gonna land you on here as well if we can get there quick enough. They have... No, they haven't changed their mind. They are throwing down. Did I not tell this unit to move in? No wonder they didn't retreat. The game didn't listen to my click. Okay, so we're going to take some losses, but we should win this combat reasonably easy. And that's all we needed. One good win against that army. There we go. We did take about the same amount of casualties on both sides, unfortunately, but that is fine. So let's go back over there and finish that siege. And now that we know that their army is safely on the withdrawal... Oh, there was another army over there I wasn't expecting. Okay. Well, again, we should be able to win that encounter. They do have a better general. We're going to go ahead and move... Do we need to move the navy over there for better sieging? We can just stay here for now. We're not sieging any forts, so it's fine. There we go. So that was another win. So we're just going to start splitting... moving these armies around so we can do a little bit of carpet sieging. We're already up to 59% war score here. Now, I'm not necessarily too bothered about taking anything from Morocco. However, did I not have Morocco set as my rival? Rivals is down here. So Morocco is an enemy and a rival. And so is Tlemcen. So if I could take any... I mean, I don't really want to take land because... It's the wrong culture, it's the wrong religion, it's too far away that we wouldn't have any control, it's the other side of water, which means dealing with any potential rebellions is going to be a right pain in the neck. So, you know, ideally, I don't want to take anything from Morocco. We could mess them up, right? We could get them to pay us money and break their treaties with other people and, you know, release their vassals. There are things that we can do to them that don't directly... revolve around taking land from them. Now in EU4 you would always take land, right? EU4 was a game where you basically tried to just take as much land from the opposition as possible. Something I've just noticed about this game actually, watching the clock here when you're running on normal speed, in EU4 the game ticks by every individual hour. This game doesn't. It only goes daylight hours. Look, 4 p.m, 5 p.m, 6 p.m, 7 p.m, 8 a.m. Nothing happens overnight in this game. It only deals with... So basically, the game, even though the game is longer in terms of the number of years, like the date range of EU5 is longer than the date range in EU4, if you consider every hour of the game as a tick or a turn, there are fewer ticks because instead of having 24 ticks per day, you only have like... What did we say it went up to? 7 p.m? So you only have 11 ticks rather than... 24 ticks per day. Technically, EU4 had multiple ticks because even though the clock only went up in hours, each hour... What? No, hang on, I've got this wrong, haven't I? No, I've got this ass backwards because I'm thinking of Hearts of Iron, because it's Hearts of Iron that goes by hour. In EU4, it went up in days because a single tick was a day. Technically, each day was 2 ticks, but one of those ticks was hidden because each day was broken into a morning and an afternoon. And that's why sometimes in EU4, if you've got 2 armies arriving in a province on the same day, sometimes they will meet. Or so you've got one army leaving a province on a date and another army arriving at that province on a date. Sometimes they'll meet, sometimes they'll miss each other. And that depends on which tick during the day they arrive and leave. So if the leaving army leaves on the morning tick and the attacking army arrives on the afternoon tick, they'll miss each other. But any other combination, they both arrive at, they'll both be there at the same time. So yeah, EU5 in that case actually has more ticks, because a day is now split up into hours and each hour is an individual tick. That's interesting. I've literally only just noticed that EU5 has an hour timer rather than just a day timer. So that's cool. Pretty major mechanic that I've only just noticed. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll keep balancing these units, but we're going to start splitting them in half simply because I don't want to take a bunch of attrition by having absolutely every unit standing in the same province. I've got to be careful and ready to attack quite quickly should they come at me with their army again, although their army's pretty bashed after that. Caught red-hooved. All living creatures in our crown are subject to the laws of men, regardless of whether they can comprehend them or not. Recently, a sow has been caught murdering and consuming a child. It now stands trial for its grievous crime. Yeah, the 1340s, eh? Great. It is imperative that authorities uphold an impression of maintaining the law and order of the land in an assiduous manner, even if the defendant may not be human. Granting it a trial which observes legal customs to the fullest extent provides the people with greater trust in the system. However, one can call into question the expense of giving a full trial to an animal which is incapable of making use of it. Perhaps animals should be given hastier trials and are less expensive to undertake. So the law shall continue to be fair even for animals, and we change our societal values by +2 towards traditionalist. Or we can curtail expenditures on animal trials where we lose a bunch of stability and gain money. Not a big fan of that one. Or the clergy should be responsible for animals too. The clergy will lose some satisfaction of us, but we gain some stability. Stability is nice. Do we want to move towards traditionalist? Where's the societal values tab? Values, there it is. So traditionalist gives us a state satisfaction equilibrium, but it's more expensive to embrace into institutions. So teching up becomes more expensive, basically. Stability investment cost is reduced and cultural tradition is increased. If we went towards innovative, it's cheaper to embrace new institutions. Cultural influence plus. So you have cultural tradition and cultural influence. Your cultural influence is that's like your cultural attack, right? So your cultural influence is how much you can put cultural pressure on other cultures, and your cultural tradition is your defensive culture. So that's how well you defend from attacks from other cultures. Little just like it works in civilization, almost in a sense. Max literacy is improved, but I think I want to go towards innovative rather than traditionalist. But I really don't want to lose the stability. And we're still moving towards traditionalist. How much do the clergy hate me right now? Oh, 60.55. Ah, screw 'em. We'll do that then. We'll go and take some stability. Interesting little event there. You can definitely see if you've played a lot, well, not even a lot, but if you've played other, is that even a province? Apparently it is. If you have played other Paradox games, like Stellaris and Hearts of Iron and Victoria and Europa Universalis. I won't necessarily say Imperator Rome, because even I've only played that for about an hour. But there are definitely influences here from their other titles. They do, Paradox do fully acknowledge that EU4 is their sort of, premium, the most luxury, most comprehensive, most feature-packed grand strategy game, and I think that's what they've basically tried to do there. Is they've tried to take all of their games and use all of the tools and things from them. Right, how do I get an army to auto siege? I've seen the button somewhere. I remember I remember mousing over it. Consolidate regiments. Disband unit. March to the sound of the guns, basically forced march. Scorched earth. Upgrade the army, drill the army, make available for hire, which basically turns them into mercenaries. Recruit to army. Is it just something that's done in automation? It's going to be one of the red ones, isn't it? Army construction, navy construction. No, it's not there. Oh, select objective. There it is. So we can select that button and then go carpet siege. So let's have... we're not going to carpet siege right now with this one. What we're actually going to do with these guys... which army is that? This one here. You can go ahead and build a supply depot. Because while we're sieging down here, I've got a feeling we're going to need some food, right? But then anybody else that's finished a siege... Oh, we've got an army coming in. I am going to let this one just complete its siege tick, I think. Yeah, there we go. They've got a big-ish army coming in. That's good. I mean, if they decide to not attack, that's fine. They probably still will. We've only got the slightly bigger numbers. We've also completed our siege over here now. Oh, except we've got to go a really long way around to get there with you. Okay, in that case, we won't bother. But we could move in with this army here. Are we likely to win this encounter? Let's just move in with this army. I know we were building the supply depot, but I'd sooner win the battle than build a supply depot. If we lose all of our units, there's not much point in building a supply depot. So let's make sure we go in and win this battle. We're there at the top. Their centre is getting pretty weak. Their flanks are getting pretty weak. We are losing some levies to attrition. We've also got a lot of units in reserve and they don't. So we are filling the gaps in our army. Yeah, their front's going to fall quite quickly here. Yeah, there we go. Maybe we'll build the supply depot in this province. And maybe I can get you onto carpet sieging. Oh, so we can actually tell it where to carpet siege. So which area? Yeah, you work on that bit over there. And see what we get. So that's like 9,000-ish units. Is that all that they've got left? No, they've got a few more. They've got a few more units. Now, we've got a lot of units here now that we don't all want in one spot. So let's move you over to there. Why are these ticking over? Changing to Morocco. Oh, now we've got an outbreak of typhus. Great. So it's this one here. This province is trying to flick them back over. Where am I sending you? Okay, let's get this one first then if we can. You are going to build that supply depot. Yeah, some of these provinces are actually starting to flip back because of the control that's being exerted. Oh. Hang on. They're throwing in. Well, okay, well, what's attacking this one? Let's move you into here. They're really desperately throwing units at us right now. I think they're trying to attack here, but we're going to catch them there. I think that's what was happening. One day we'll get this food depot built. Probably not today. Probably not in this video. Right, they've already lost one flank. You can see here so the indicators for the flank. So they've only got a centre and one flank. So we easily outflank them. There we go. They're going to move off again. So let's take the smaller army and we'll go back up there. We'll build the food depot. We were already building one up here, actually, but... And then we'll go and re-siege these two here that have now unsieged themselves. But yeah, we need to start getting some forts. That's the problem. See, this army here has not followed the ruling that I gave it because they've now sort of just sat around and they're not doing anything. Not sure why that is. Right, you go ahead and... Oh, you've already built it. Okay, so you can deposit food. A lot of pop-ups going on now. A lot of pop-ups. So let's go and start grabbing forts. You've got an army heading over here. That's interesting. I don't think we're going to fight them. I think they're just heading through. Split in half. And let's move half of you to another province. We'll try and speed things up here. So you are supposed to be depositing food. Oh, so I've got the game paused again for some reason. Always a bad habit of mine. Like, whenever something happens in this game, I tend to just hit pause. Right, those provinces are actually going to flip our way automatically. So let's move down and grab Fez. So what are you guys doing? No food in these provinces, which is a bit of a pain. No, it's fog of war blocked. This one's going to tick... Yeah, let's go ahead and re-grab those provinces. These ones should tick over our... anyway, because we've grabbed Wazan. How many units do they have left now? Still saying they've got 10,000 men. They've still got no ships. Let's go ahead and grab that. Can we get right in there? Is that in this province? Yeah, difficult to tell sometimes where the provincial lines are. We still haven't grabbed this yet. They're still working on it. Negative 21%. We do want to grab that as quickly as we can. Yeah, we've grabbed that really quick. Let's go ahead and grab this one again. Got to be careful here. Remember, I don't want to split up my armies too much. Don't want to be in a position where I can't reinforce if they do throw an army at me. So here we've got a fort. So we are going to have to work on that one. Now, we probably already have some war score against Morocco, right? We've got 15%. Can't do a lot with it, but I could do something like... So if I wanted them to become a vassal, it'd cost me... which one's the actual war score out of these? I never remember which way around it goes. So the left one is the aggressive expansion, the right one is the war score. So it would cost me 572 war score to make them become a vassal. Obviously, that's not possible. I could potentially get enough war score against them to make 2 out a vassal, because that would only cost me 31 war score. You'll notice, though, that they're not willing to accept. So, you know, right now, we still need to take a lot more from them. I suspect once I've got a fort, and Fez is their capital as well. Oh. There we go. This is exactly what we didn't want to happen. You can't get there because you've got to go the long way around. You can get there. Decrease of prosperity. So we're probably going to lose this battle here because we can't get there quickly enough. That's actually quite annoying. I mean, it might be a reasonably long battle. Oh, it takes so long for these units to get anywhere. And the zone of control again from Fez is kind of making this difficult. Looks like we also had some bad dice rolls there as well. I don't want to take that encounter because they've got a lot of units. So let's get you in over here. I'm basically going to try and surround them. And then if they do try and move out to attack, I can hopefully hit them from every direction. Which one was that one? We've grabbed that one. So let's bring you down here now. Actually, let's bring you down to here. We want to have as many units next to each other as possible. Really, I want to try and grab that, but it's going to be difficult. Right, is their army still... Can you move into there? And is their army still there, which is the question. It is, right. So, I'm going to move in with these other units. The one that's in Fez, obviously, is going to take a little bit longer to get there, because it's got to go the long... What's Faz? It's got to go the long way round. I am losing a lot of units here. But if I can crush their army, then that'll really make things a lot better for us here. When are you arriving? We'll arrive on the 25th of December at 1 PM. So, come on, you've got to hold out for another day. We've lost so many units here due to bad encounters. We actually lost that battle. And now I'm about to throw in another bunch of units and lose, which I don't want to happen, so we'll keep that out. Let's move you into Fez. I think we're going to have to start putting some of these armies together. Oh, I thought I told them not to move into there. That's going to be a bad encounter for us. Again, you won't get there in time. Yep, you just sit in Fez. I've got to stop taking these bad encounters. I need to get my armies together and join them up. We've only got a 1-star general here as well. I mean, every time we have one of these battles, even if we lose the battle, they do still lose units. But we're losing a lot more here than they are, so yeah, let's not do that again. Let's get as many of our armies together here into one spot as possible. Oh. Okay, we can't avoid that. We can go and do this, which will be a positive one for us. Yeah, I'm going to try and just bring all these armies down and just group them together in one. If we stay together as one unit, sieging will be slower, but we shouldn't lose any of these encounters. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and smash their army, and then I'm going to just grab Fez and the important places. I'm not necessarily too bothered about taking stuff from the vassals at this point, if I'm perfectly honest. I think we've got more than enough to worry about without having to sort of try and mess them up. How much war score do I need to vassalize Granada? 57.33. And right now they would actually accept. And I could take as much money from them. I mean, they'd have to take loans to do that, which gives aggressive expansion. That's as much money as I can take from them. I don't actually need it. So I probably won't take that money. But we can use the remaining war score we have. I mean, I could just sit here and grab more stuff to try and get more war score, but it's just going to cause me more attrition. So we want them to become our vassal, and then we could get them to we could even make them force Morocco to dismantle forts, right? which we don't necessarily care about. Toggle core treaties. Revoke core of Granada in Olvera. So they've got a core there. So we can go ahead and do that. Toggle other treaties. Annul all treaties with Tlemcen. We can ask them to do that. Annuls all treaties with Morocco. We can ask them to do that. We don't need to worry about things like fleet basing rights and food access and military access because they're going to be a vassal anyway. And they'll accept. So we could still take some money. Just puts them into debt though, and we don't necessarily want them into debt. Well, I suppose if it puts them into debt, then it's going to stop them from building up an army and attacking me. So we'll take as much as we can up to +1 war score, hit accept demand, and there we go. A little bit messy, but it is what it is. So let's go ahead and take all of our units that we've got here. And we want to disband the unit. Disbanding an army will reduce the amount of gold. Yeah. Fine. Disband all the armies. We're going to keep our standing army up. That's fine. We've also got fleet levies here as well. Some of these armies didn't disband for some reason. We've got these fleets. Some of these are levies, some of them are boats. So we want to be careful here. We don't want to disband the unit. We want to right-click and just disband the levies and keep the rest of them. We can put these ships back to harbour. Morocco, I should have taken that from Morocco, shouldn't I? I forgot that they got territory down here. But I'm sure we'll be going to war with Morocco again soon. So that's not a problem. Close to being the target of an international organisation. And this is another reason why you want to be a little bit careful. Because of aggressive expansion, right? Exiled armies. That's fine. It's because they're in... did I not tell it to disband these? Oh, it's because they're currently retreating. That's why. These were the armies that kind of got smashed. Yeah, army levies raised in peace. I'm aware. If you'd actually let me disband them, we wouldn't have this problem. Locked in movement, retreating. Yeah, they're currently movement locked. There we go. Can we disband you now? You stop move. Right, you just go there. I don't know where you're heading. I don't know where you guys are heading either. If you could stop doing what you're doing, that'd be great. They're moving back over there for some reason. I don't know what's going on. Right. Disband. Cool. One more to deal with. Disband. Okay, there we go. There's all the levies dealt with. Okay, so it's been a bit of a mess. But we do now have a... We're no longer at war. We do now have Granada, who is our vassal. They ain't going to like us. So what we're going to want to do over here with Granada is start improving relations with them. We have a diplomat en route who will return on the 11th of February, so we can't do that just yet. So we've got to wait for that. But overall, we can go back up to speed 3. Not too bad. We've not taken a huge amount of losses to our population. We're definitely having some issues with food. Yeah, definitely having some food issues, which we'll have to sort out in the next episode. So we've got some truces. We've got buildings with missing inputs. We do have a rebellion that is growing in strength. Noble insurgents, which we could probably deal with in some way. I mean, there's not a huge number of them, but it's all nobles. So what are our options for those? Taxes for nobility. Lack of pop needs and local unrest. I mean, we could also have a look at the taxes and reduce it slightly for the nobles. They're not paying that much. They like us mostly. We could also bribe them. We could mint a little bit more, potentially. We are kind of max diplo, so I probably don't need to put quite as much on diplomatic spending. Bearing in mind, though, diplomatic spending does improve loyalty of subjects, which is quite a useful one for us, so maybe we do want to keep that. We're making a positive income. So that's not terrible. But yeah, the good thing is now we've got Granada, who will be paying us some money. And we've got a few things that are still going on over here. Yeah, I really wish I'd have remembered that belonged to Morocco, and I could have asked for that land, and I could have just given it to Granada to have them to manage. That would have been a better thing. But you live and learn, right? It's one of those things, and I certainly think I've been making YouTube videos for a lot of years now. When you're sort of trying to concentrate on what you're saying on the commentary, you do make a lot of mistakes. If I was just playing this for fun and not making a video, I'd probably be running the game at a much slower speed constantly and taking much longer to make decisions rather than talking about the decisions. And I'd be less, I'd analyze things like that more and be less likely to make those mistakes. But hey, when you're playing this game, you play it at your own pace and you play it how you want to play it. There is no right and wrong way of playing it. Once you know the rules, once you know how it works, it's whatever works best for you. Anyway, this video's gone on long enough. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you found some of the information here useful. As always, please do like and leave a comment if you've got any tips or advice that you'd like to give me. Do please consider subscribing to the channel if you are new here, and a big thank you to all of my supporters who chip in a little bit to help the channel. It is very much appreciated. I will see you on the next video, and until then, goodbye for now.